pattern long enough, and again, for every scale club, whether you're an Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, the same pattern is taking place. And what that was a tell to me, and it's not calling out any one individual, but it's saying that all of us are struggling on this idea of professional management of our pipelines. And the reason why it's a tell is we should be seeing some more variance on our pipelines, right? We should be seeing a number coming in, and then we should see a drop. We should be at 35, and then 25, and then 18, and then 32. And some of you guys have been great at going in and telling stories about clearing out the pipeline, and you can see it. Specifically, I know, Taylor, at one point you were like, I went in and cleared out like 20 people in my pipeline, right? And so we get in, but we do that not on a consistent basis, right? We do that in a way where we're not in there actively kind of going through that process. So when Jeremy and I were working through kind of the core concepts of what we want to be teaching on, we realized that going into the details, to the nuance, to the key things that we're driving to today are some of the most important things that we can be talking about, because the reality is there are dollars in your pipeline. There's money in your pipeline. And that is the most important thing to all of us, is how do we convert what's in the pipeline into real dollars? And so we want to get into the strategies, the tactics, the blocking and tackling, if you will, to make that money come to life.
Wow, this sounds like it was a systemic, Jay. You wouldn't call this a pandemic, would you?
No, I'm not ready to call it. I'm not. That's too soon. Too soon.
All right, fair enough. All right, guys, let's jump in here. Let's talk about what a sales pipeline is. Sales pipeline is one of those abstract terms we all throw around. I think a lot of us know what it means, but when you're asked to describe it, it gets a little fuzzy. So I want to stay super simple on this. To me, this is what I look as a sales pipeline. When I'm talking to you guys, this is the why behind what we're doing today, because we're going to get really in the nuance. Your sales pipeline is just all that potential business out there, right? Regardless of the time frame of it closing, or even the odds that it will close. And so obviously, we're going to talk about pipeline and active pipeline and all these different categories, but I just want you to realize that when we're talking about the framework we're going to share today, you guys have a active pipeline and you have a pipeline that is much bigger than that. So if I logged into your CRM, there's probably a boatload of business that you could be having. We just don't know what the odds are that you'll win it, and we don't know what the time frame is, whether that's tomorrow, next month, or 7 years from now. And so that's what a pipeline is. And so we're going to talk about sales process and sales funnel, all those things. But just keep in mind, when I say let's talk about our pipeline and our strategies, we're just talking about all that potential business that exists in your universe that you've yet to close. And it's just a matter of time. Now, when I talk about pipeline management, specifically professional pipeline management, it's pretty simple, guys. Professional pipeline management is about increasing those odds. It's about winning more of the business than you would have otherwise. It's about shortening those time frames. It's about getting people to make the right decisions. At the end of the day, sales is getting in front of enough of the right people at the right time and getting them to make the right decisions, right? So that's active pipeline management, that's sales. This stuff overlaps dramatically. It's really about advancing the right fit opportunities. So you guys know about sales stages. We're going to talk about that today. It's all about advancing an opportunity, right? Pipelines are meant to flow, and that's what we're trying to get it to do. Equally as important, guys, this is the thing that I see a lot of salespeople struggle with, myself included, our team. It's about removing the misfits. It's about the guys that are not qualified, they're not moving forward, right? That is just muck in the pipeline. Like, that is just clogging it up. And so we're going to talk about ways to make sure to understand who are the right people, who are not, how to get you guys enough business that you're comfortable removing the misfits. And that's not a derogatory term. That means they're not a right fit for your company. And that's what this is all about. And last but not least, guys, active professional pipeline management is making sure the pipeline never runs dry. This is priority number one, right? When you have an active when you have a dry pipeline, you have no more business. And so we need to be feeding the pipe at all times. We need to be advancing a pipe. Like I said, a healthy pipe flows. Pipeline is life for salespeople, so that's what we're going to talk about. So having said that, professional pipeline management has three components. We're going to cover each of them today. Number one is tool mastery. And the tool for pipeline management is your CRM. A lot of you guys, it's LeadSimple. So, many of you guys, it's HubSpot. Everything we're going to show today is platform agnostic. We're focusing more on the concepts. We do have a lot of LeadSimple screenshots, just because I felt like that was more relevant than anything. But I promise you, we're not teaching anything today that you can't do with any pipeline, I'm sorry, any. I got somebody I'm going to mute real fast. Okay. Okay. So number 2 is your sales strategy. This is probably what you showed up for. When I said, hey, I want to help you get your pipeline unstuck, you probably thought, I want to hear the sales strategy, right? So of course we're going to do that. But there's a third component, guys, that is so critical, and it's every salesperson's worst nightmare. And that's time management. If we're not managing our time right, we're not using the most important resource we have as salespeople to put our time in front of the right clients, then we're not going to be closing as much business as we can. So we're going to go over all 3 of these today. And Jason reminded me that our Scale Clubbers are pretty freaking good at the tool mastery part. So we're going to try to go through that as quick as we can. It might be like drinking water out of a fire hose, but Jason's assured me you guys are on top of this. I believe him, but I still want to get us aligned on the concepts that we have, because this thing is going to staircase fast. We're going to start really basic to make sure everybody's with us, right? Get everybody on the boat. And then we're going to start staircasing complexity really fast. And so don't, doze off, don't daydream, don't zone out, stick with us. Otherwise you might look back at your screen and be lost. Okay. So it's going to kind of move that through. So let's talk about this. Jay, get us aligned. Give us the basics, right? The language, the overall terms that we need to do. I've got a screen up, walk us through these opportunity buckets.
Right. So it's just important to remember that sometimes the most important thing about your CRM and pipeline management is that you understand the reason for being, right? And the terms and what they're there for. If we don't have clarity on that, then sometimes everything from there is going to go downhill. So when we talk about having a target in your opportunity buckets, that just simply means this is someone that you have contact information around, and that's it, right? A lead is someone that you have contact information with and they've expressed interest with you, right? So that's the difference between reaching out to a Furbo, you got information on them, they've not expressed information or expressed interest, and an online digital lead that expresses information to you by going onto the website or submitting their information. So that is the only difference between a target and a lead. A lead becomes a prospect when you've qualified them, saying this is an ideal client that we want to work with, and I have an identified timeline. Now I can already hear somebody saying, Jason, what do you mean identified timeline? We talk already about identified timeline of kind of when we think the deal is going to close. What identified timeline is drawing to is the close date of when that person is going to sign an agreement, not when they need a new tenant, not when they're moving out. It's not the prospect's identified timeline. It is your ability to identify a timeline on when you believe that deal is going to close. I don't care that they're not moving till August. You can still get a contract signed in June, right? So it's not their timeline. It is the fact that you've identified the timeline of when you think the deal is going to close. And once that timeline fizzes out, they become active nurture, meaning you're not sure exactly when you're going to be able to get a signed agreement with that person, right? It could be in the next, 1 to 6 months. It could be 8 months from now, whatever it might be. But we move them into that active nurture when we do not have a clear timeline of when we're going to get a signed agreement from that client. So those are the 4 opportunity buckets that we're working out of.
So Jay, let me ask you this. So for me as a salesperson, what is the difference in how I approach somebody who's an active nurture versus a passive nurture, right? What does that mean to me as the salesperson?
So active nurture is in many ways your activity of reaching out to them, saying, this is someone that is still on my radar. This is still someone that I believe and am confident in that they're going to work with me. Passive nurture is when we believe that they've ghosted us, we've been following up, they just simply have stopped responding. I have no idea what a dated timeline is for this person. And frankly, I'm going to let marketing activities through email campaigns, whatever it might be, do the work to nurture them. I'm no longer doing that as the salesperson. Excellent.
So I have 3 tips for the passive nurture guys, the ones that are not sure they lost business. It is automation, check in every once in a while. I was going to say automation, didn't you, right? So it actually requires a little bit of checking in every now and then. That's different than an active nurture. You are still moving that deal forward. So awesome job, Jay. So why did we go over this, right? Because a good sales pipeline has flow, right? I like to look at it as like an assembly line, like the raw goods come in, it moves down the conveyor belt. So this is, what we're all trying to do. We're trying to take a target, somebody that we learn about, someone says, hey, I know this guy, he's got some properties, you should give him a call, or someone we reach out to. I'll turn them into a lead. We know they're interested, or somebody it originates in our CRM as a lead because they actually called us or they filled out a lead form. And then we want to turn them into a prospect. We learned a little bit about them. We learned a little bit about the property. We qualified it. They've got interest. We're talking about a timeline. I think I'm going to make a decision, you know, by the end of June, right? So we're going to talk a lot about that today, about deliberately and intentionally attacking the timeline of the deal. It's super important. Hope that's one of the biggest takeaways of today. So at this point, we have a general timeline. We know they're interested. We know they're qualified. They're a prospect. So basically 9 times out of 10, I'm sure everyone on the call, that turns into a client, right? And that's just how it always works out. Every now and then you got that one guy that doesn't. That's what we would love for to happen. That's what our goal is to repeat what's on the screen over and over again. So what active pipeline management is maximizing the speed, the velocity at which this occurs, and being ready to accommodate when people fall out of the pipeline, right? So sometimes you get to a prospect, you're really excited about the opportunity, you learned everything about the property, you're getting all the buying signals. You may have mentally already spent the commission check. I hope you're not doing that. And then all of a sudden they don't close, right? And so now we actually move them to active nurture, right? Which is really important. So they're not in our forecast. We're not reporting on a weekly or monthly basis. These are the deals I think I'm going to close this month, because we've lost the integrity of the timeline. We're not really sure when they're going to close. And sometimes when you get them into active nurture and you stay involved, which we're going to cover some strategies for doing that today, you're able to turn them back into a prospect, right? That's the goal when they're in active nurture. So it's ideally a linear process that sometimes gets a little wobbly and you have to, you know, take over. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes the active nurture never responds and you need to downgrade that person to a passive nurture, as Jason just said. It's not going to take up a lot of your attention. We're going to automate. We're going to check in every once in a while, right? So I don't want you to write that person off entirely, because that's an opportunity for prospecting down the road, but it's just not going to consume your time management, your daily activity, your highest and best energy when you show up every day to work. So having said that, you guys are LeadSimple users, you're HubSpot users. Why don't we automate this whole thing, Jay? Isn't that just the way to do it? Let's just build out a pipeline, a nurture campaign, and just automate the heck out of this.
Right? That's honestly like that'd be the most efficient thing we could do, right? As salespeople, like, sure, there's beautiful systems with awesome automation tools. Like, that would be freaking awesome. But why can't we do that?
You tell us, Jay.
Let's talk about what this looks like, right? Here's the reason why automation, especially in the CRM, is something that we got to be very mindful about. We always talk about, at the end of the day, your CRM is there to do 3 things for you. It is there to give you the right data. It is there to give you the prioritization of the next tasks, and it's there to give you automation. But when we talk about automation, it's all about smart automation. Because everyone has automation available to them, it's easy to get ignored. So when we talk about the right places for automation, it is absolutely at the target phase or a lead phase when we can automate the communication with people, because the relationship has not been established. They don't know who you are yet. They've not met you. They're still in that information gathering phase. So for many of you, we've developed automated campaigns for when new leads come in. We've talked about the strategies for automation around the targets and how you can continue to nurture those people. But the moment that that person transitions from being a lead to a prospect, the automation has to be turned off, and it is your job as the salesperson to set up not only the right next activities, but also the right type of communication going out to that person. There is not a faster way to lose a lead than to have established a relationship with them and then stick your foot in your mouth by sending out a stupid piece of automated content that they're going to ignore. We think in our minds, because the system lets us automate, that's going to make us more efficient. And it might, but it does not make us more effective. And as you hear Jeremy say often, sales is always the tension between efficient and effective. And we're trying to find that balance. So when it comes to the prospect stage, that is your job as the salesperson to be working them through that process without having things being automated. Now, once they move out of that and we get them into the active and then the passive, the automation gets to turn back on, and we can then allow the system to do the heavy lifting for us. But with a well-designed pipeline, with the automation at the beginning and at the end, it gives you the capacity to do the work you need during the prospecting phase, which is where your energy, when you think about, again, the prioritization of what the CRM is giving you, is focused right into that window.
Yeah, I'll say that we as salespeople should be happy that this line never reaches 100%. Because if everything was automated by the CRM, we wouldn't have a job, right? So let's just be mindful of that. We are filling in the gap between the green line and the top, right? Like, so if automation is below the green line, we are the top line. And Jason loves automation. He's the biggest proponent of technology ever. But there's a reason you can't go and buy property management on Amazon and have it primed to your doorstep the next day, because it's custom. There's a lot of thinking involved, and that's what we do. So Jay, let's play our game. Let's play the game that I like to play. So I'm going to throw out some concepts, right? And you tell me, where does this one go? You tell me where this person belongs on our opportunity map. Are they a target? Are they a lead? Are they a prospect? Are they active nurture, passive nurture? Because at the end of the day, guys, a clean pipe flows better. The default behavior that most salespeople have is, let's just keep everybody active because I don't give up. I'm persistent. I'll never wave the white flag. Let's just consider everybody a someday maybe, right? We know that.
So here's what we got to tee up though. I don't know what you're about to give me.
This is true.
Everyone needs to know this. Jeremy and I did not prep this part. I literally don't know the opportunities that he's about to share with me. So I'm in the same boat. And if you guys agree or disagree with me, please drop it into the comments if you think the way I'm thinking about this is the right way. Because you're hearing it for the first time, just like me.
I agree. Let's not even wait for Jason to answer. Let's let you guys do it. So the options are target, lead. You guys have the study guide. I hate to call it a study guide. You guys have the accompanying workbook, right? The notes. But the target, the lead, the prospect, active nurture, passive nurture, okay? Those are the answers, right? So, okay, Jason, I had a call with Tom Jones, and Tom called because he's with another property manager. He has an agreement. He thinks that he's locked in, but he's not sure. But man, is he upset because he spoke to somebody, his tenant reached out. His tenant reached out to him, even though he's not supposed to know who he is, saying this property manager is so disorganized. They are so unresponsive. I love this place. My family loves it here. I want to renew, but you got to do something, right? So he called. He's not sure. So what I said to Tom is I said, hey, send me your agreement. I'm going to look it over with my manager today, and I'm going to call you during lunch tomorrow because you work and you only have some time. I'm going to call you tomorrow and let you know what we can do with this situation. Where's Tom go in the pipeline?
Guys, drop it in. Yeah, people are, it's a prospect, right? That is 100% someone that is in my active pipeline. That is a prospect.
Excellent. Yeah. And so dated next step, it's clear, right? I got work to do. He's expecting a call from me at lunch tomorrow. That's the candy that we all love. That's the sales candy. Okay. So Jason, I was speaking with Sarah. She is a longtime contact of mine. She's a real estate agent here in Boca Raton. And Sarah has a client who's interested in getting into real estate investing. So she has to move out of necessity for work. She's been transferred up to the Northeast, and she's got a property, and she thinks that this single family home, it's a 3-bedroom house here in Boca, could be a good rental. And she knows the market's hot, and she's curious about what to do. Where does Sarah belong in our pipeline?
Have I talked to Sarah yet, or did I just get this as a referral?
No. Sarah is the real estate agent, and she called me to tell me about Barbara, who is the owner.
So that to me would be a lead. I now have a lead in my pipeline of someone that I like 2 key things. I got the contact information for who that person is, right? That's the first piece of thinking about it. And the second thing is I know some element of kind of what it is that they're looking for.
She expressed interest. That was the key difference right there, right? She expressed interest. So great point. Okay. Third one, last one, we'll keep it quick. I've been talking to Larry quite a bit. So Larry actually has 2 properties here in Boca Raton. He's got several other in other markets, and he's working with another property manager. But at the end of the day, he doesn't feel like these properties in Boca are returning at the same level as the other 2 properties he has closer to him, which is actually in Atlanta. And so he's kind of kicking some tires and saying, you know, am I with the right manager? Is it the market that's bad? Is it the opportunity, or am I the right manager? We had some really good dialogue, but honestly, Jason, I've not been able to get a hold of Larry in about 3 weeks. When I spoke to him, there was no real sense of urgency. He was kind of ambiguous about whether he was under a contract or not. And I've been following up and I haven't heard anything back. What should I do with Larry?
All right, let's see the chat. See what people drop in there.
So just to clarify, it's been about 3 weeks since I heard from Larry. We had multiple phone calls, maybe 3 or 4. We had good rapport, but he's just not calling me back now.
Okay. All right, we're about 50-50 on this one of what people think should be happening, whether it's passive nurture or active nurture. And in my mind, the differentiation here is that because I've had conversation with this person and I've identified the fact that if it's Larry, if I remember correctly, is an ideal client. He's still someone that I think I want to be working with in the future. I'm going to have him in my active nurture, not my passive nurture. Why? Because passive nurture, again, that's out of sight, out of mind. I'm going to let marketing take care of that. Larry still has some good intention. I like what he brought to me in our conversation. And so he's the kind of guy I'm going to check in now as a data next step, maybe once a month. I might send him a text. I might send him an email, but I'm going to be active with him in my follow-up because he's identified himself as an ideal client.
Love it, Jay. So it's a fun game to play, guys. Owners on the call, this is a fantastic game to talk through. We can do this in Scale Club. This is the exercise, right? This is the calisthenics that build the endurance and the training. So Jay, you crushed it. I knew you would. You're right. I put you on the spot. But the thinking is aligned. I really like how quick you were to do that. And it sounds like everybody playing along at home did a really good job as well. So let's talk about putting this into action. Okay, we got the concepts out there. We know what the buckets are. What does this look like in our CRM? Guys, the only reason we have a CRM is because we want to operate at 10 times or 100 times the level. If I just need to work on a single problem, I can buy a $9 calculator. Heck, I can go to the dollar store and buy a $1 calculator and work on that single problem.
Why are you buying a calculator? I thought that's what this is for.
No, that's your camera that I normally call you on. Yeah. So the calculator does one quick problem. A supercomputer can run scenarios. It can forecast. It can model. What if this happens, right? I can work on 9 problems at once. The difference is the operator of the computer, you and I, the humans, we can only work on 1 problem at a time. So let's just remember that. Even though the computer is multi-threaded, we are single-threaded as human beings, right? We need a singular focus. We need to divide our day. We're going to talk about that in a second. But none of this matters if we're not executing and producing at 10 or 100 levels. Otherwise, we're just playing with technology and spending a lot of money that we don't need to spend. So let's walk this through. Does this look familiar to you guys? I hope so, because if you've been through our sales process blueprint, something like this is in your playbook. And the whole point is that you're juggling 10, 50, 500 opportunities, and you need a visual map of where that person is in the process, right? We are all about sales process. That's what we do at RentScale. There is a process, right? Sell the link, sell the chain, wash and repeat, repetitive process, scale. That's what we're all about. And so this is a process you should be used to. This is a process that we've designed into LeadSimple or HubSpot or whatever tool you're using for you. But there is an extension to this process. So I just want to clarify that. When you come on board with this initially, we focus on opportunity conversion, but there's more things you guys do. You guys generate new opportunity, you create referrals. So this is an extended version of the map that I've put in the notes for you guys, so you have it. Feel free to screenshot this. You already have it in the download. So we've got passive nurture, we've got targets in here, we've got our referral partners. This could be an hour conversation alone. And so Jason's encouraged me to advance through this quicker, so I will. Just know that when you master this, when this is in your mind and everybody you're speaking to, you can hang up the phone and I could walk over your desk and I could say, Tom, where is that prospect? You would immediately visualize this map and tell me exactly where they're at in the process and where they need to go next, right? This is the overall landscape. This is your toolbox. I want you guys to understand that, okay? So this is what it looks like in your CRM. So a lot of the features I'm going to show you in LeadSimple require, a higher level LeadSimple, but there's nothing you can't do with the most basic level of LeadSimple. So I want to stress that. Never let the level of technology you have be the excuse. So, you've got pipelines in your CRM that, your active pipeline, your active nurture, your lead and your lost. You've got different pipelines that might be your various categories of targets. This is where you're spending your time prospecting, reaching out to realtors, not reaching out to realtors, calling some furbos, calling past leads, calling unoccupied owners that you've downloaded from the tax appraisal website or from Prospect Now. We can talk more about those things later. And you've got your referral partners. Yes, I see unidentified caller. Apparently he's seeker shopping, everybody, calling all of the property management companies. I love it, Peter. We got our referral partners, right? So part of this is just segmenting and organizing who we're going after, not conflating the Toms, you know, with the Sarahs, you know, with the Larrys, right? Let's make sure they're all in the right place as we're going through this. So pipelines are your number one way to segment, but within the pipeline, there's even more segmentation, right? So let's just give an example. Let's just walk through the life cycle of turning a stranger into a customer. So I see a furbo, it's in a building that I already managed 2 properties in, or it's in a neighborhood I know really well. Maybe I even live in that neighborhood. I'm gonna call that furbo. We have a great conversation. He says, I had no idea that there's professional property managers. That's really news to me. I was just managing this because I thought I had to. Well, I'm just gonna graduate that target to a new pipeline. Like I said, I'm flying through this. If you guys need more help on this, let me know. I know you really well. We graduate that target to a lead. And now we manage that process with our milestones, which we talk about constantly in Scale Club. So we're going to use the prospect stages to manage the pipeline. Some of these pipelines are going to be leads, right? Basically a new lead. Our only goal with a new lead is to qualify them and understand their interests so we can advance them. If we do that, we have an array of prospect statuses. And ultimately, we also have some nurturing statuses if we don't end up converting those guys, right? So you guys know this. Like I said, I'm flying through this stuff. So at the end of the day, you should know in your tool, this is mastery. How do you map every one of those boxes that I showed that's in your notes to this, right? So if you're on a higher version of LeadSimple, Taylor, I understand that you recently upgraded and that you're a fan. We're big fans. You shouldn't be doing extra work, right? So you click on an active pipeline and there it is. If you guys have LeadSimple and you want to know how to do this, right? You just basically click on add a filter, click on your buyer leads or whatever you have, and you basically check off the categories, right? For a lot of you guys, it's something like this. Now, Jason, I noticed that I don't have a new lead checked off. What are your thoughts? Is a new lead part of your active pipeline?
In my opinion, absolutely. Because when you start thinking about the elements of what a new lead represents, is a lot of times we know that those people are looking to make a conversion as soon as possible, right? Some of them are needing a decision now. So we want to see them in our active pipeline. Now your job, again, if they're not responding to you within those 7 days or whatever our automation is taking place to engage with them, that's when we move them out of our pipeline and into a passive nurture state because we never talk to them. We never engage them. But the biggest place where I see people balloon in their pipeline, where they get clogged up, is they hold on to new leads far too long because they're not ready to move them into passive nurture, or they're not ready to move them into something else. We got to get that part cleared out. If they're not talking to you within 2 weeks, a month, right, depending on your systems and processes, they have to get cleared out. They got to be put into a passive nurture. And if you don't have a nurture campaign to send to them, you need to go spend some energy to either get marketing, if you have that availability in your company to get it done, or something, but you got to move them out of the pipeline.
Great point. So you can include new lead. Jason's an optimist. He's convinced he's going to close everybody. I like that. I don't know if I always want to be forecasting my closed deals based on new leads I've never spoken to, because I don't know if they're qualified, right? If you're going to include them specifically, which we do in Scale Club, you need to be that much more disciplined about being, when the 14 days, when the 21 days, whatever you've pre-decided at a non-emotional level, that person is never going to get back to you. You can't leave them in the pipeline, or you're lying to yourself with your forecasts and your active pipeline. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Jay. You got to decide that, but I felt like that was nuance that was worth bringing up. Okay, so when you do this, it's pretty easy. You just save the view. So over here on the right, there'll be a save view button. So I want you to have a save view, if you have that functionality, for every one of your buckets, right? So that you can slice and dice the pipeline and do all the cool things we're going to do. So you create a new view, active pipeline is all of my open deals, and then bam, life is good. Every day I log in. I am going to wall off my calendar, my time, and I'm going to focus on advancing deals. I am going to focus on creating new deals, and I'm going to have a different set of views in the CRM. hard edges. If you guys came to Sales Mastery Lauderdale, we talked about that was one of the highest rated topics was time management, right? And it was called beast mode productivity. And it was all about getting clear on how you were spending your time. We're going to talk about that in a second. So if you're going to focus on prospects, active pipeline, you need a view just of active pipeline. So you're not tripping over new, old leads and nurture. That's why this is so important to me. So, all right, we got through tool mastery. Okay, now let's talk about time management, which may be the more difficult one. So I showed you this map, right? So this is your entire sales map. This is your universe as a BDM and property management, right? You've got targets, you've got leads, deals. Predefine how you're going to spend your day, guys. Let's be intentional. Let's plan our day to get the results we want. I want you to go into Monday thinking about how much time you're going to spend on each of these activities as a pie chart. And then I want you to reflect at the end of the day of how that worked. Again, something you've heard me say before. I think that the best salespeople are intentional. Now listen, at the end of the day, guys, we are in a reactive environment. And I can hear everybody saying now, I got to return every lead within 2 minutes and I got to have email. But you know what? The closer you can get to directing your day and being intentional about it, the more effective you're going to be. I promise you, if you gave me 2 salespeople and I said, salesperson A, I want you to plan your day and execute for a year. Salesperson B, I want you to be the most reactive salesperson. Just sit by that phone, open your inbox and just wait for something to happen. I think you guys, I would take that bet all day long. Salesperson A is going to win. So it doesn't mean not being responsive. It just means being intentional about your day. I'm going to show you some tools to actually do that. And so is Jason. So if you guys came to Mastery in Lauderdale, I shared this little document with you, right? And so it's in the guide. Melissa, if you don't mind dropping in the link to the PDF. There is a daily worksheet and there is a weekly worksheet, right? And so I literally, encourage you guys to do this in the beginning. So just think through what you want your day to look like. I literally drew this out, okay? This is my day, and I literally drew out as a pie chart, how much time do I want to spend creating new opportunity, converting new opportunity, and closing new opportunity, right? Now, again, I know what you guys are going to say. I just want to spend my whole day closing opportunity. It's only going to happen if you invest the time creating the opportunity and advancing it, so that's actually going to happen for you. So I'm going to go back to this doc. So this is going to be dropped into the notes. You guys got it. It's in the guide. I want to tell you that we have a vision in Scale Club that we are going to actually develop a sales journal for you guys to use this stuff, but we're just not there yet. So you got a couple assets. So there's the daily worksheet and there is a weekly worksheet, right? So at the end of the week, how many prospects were reached, how many number of opportunities were advanced, and how many deals did I close? What went well, and what do I want to do better? There's a very simple concept here. It is the fundamental foundation of self-development and optimization over time. It's really simple, guys. 3 steps. You want to direct, you want to wake up, you want to plan your day, you want to be intentional, work your day, you want to reflect what worked, what didn't, and then you want to perfect, right? Let's optimize that before tomorrow. If you guys just spend the time, and a lot of, my team knows that I do that. I spend every morning, I've got my notes. Sometimes I have it before our daily huddle. Sometimes I don't. I direct my day, then I reflect on the day, and then I optimize. You do that 365 days a year, you're going to be light years ahead of everybody else. So how much time will you invest? This is my question to you guys. This is in the notes. I really want you guys to think about this. This is what an effective BDM should be doing. How much time are you going to invest in creating new opportunities? How much time are you going to invest in converting the opportunities that you have, and in developing referrals, which will generate more opportunities, and then of course, in becoming more effective? You guys show up to Scale Club, you're practicing, you're already doing that. That's what we're talking about. Are you reading sales books? Are you coming? You are investing in becoming more effective right now at 1:08 Eastern, right now by being on Scale Club Skill Dev. So that's my question to you guys. And then by the way, at the end of the day, if you're not scheduling it, if you're not protecting your time, I'm gonna have this conversation with you in a month, and you're gonna say, but I'm just so busy and people are calling and there's so much to do, and you're not gonna do any of this stuff. So I'm gonna pass over to Jason for an even more effective time management system. So Jay, what's the most powerful tool in any CRM, no matter what they're using right now?
It is your ability to set a dated next step so things do not fall through the cracks. right? And you guys hear us harp on this often when we do a pipeline review. When we get in and we look at things, we're always looking like, because we don't have automation in the background working, that it's your job, especially for that active pipeline, that we have a defined kind of dated next step of what's going to happen. Now, what that does is it creates a task for you inside of LeadSimple. And so when you look at it here, right, we got our next action item, we can see what's coming up. And then what that does is it creates a task, and that's what you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, for many of you, I have gone in and pressed the nuke button on your tasks because it was bloated because of automation that ultimately didn't mean anything to you. So what ends up happening is you've got 400 tasks in there that are never going to get done because it frankly was set up not in a way to serve you well. It was served from a perspective of automation, not really what was going to be most beneficial. So I have no problem. If you need me to go talk to the owner of your company to say you're using tasks wrong, I'll do that, and I'll go in and cancel all of the tasks for you. No issue with that. I can fight that battle all day long. Why? Because when you set actionable next steps, you set the tasks that are most important to you. What you can do is click on that task button inside of LeadSimple, and it's going to take you to a page. And on that page, in the top right-hand corner, where there's kind of the secret sauce, if you will, is a button that says Add to Calendar. And what you can then do is all of the tasks, and you have control, you can decide which tasks, what pipelines, whatever, will be integrated into your Google Cal, your Outlook Cal, your iCal, whatever system you're doing. So now, instead of tasks just living inside of LeadSimple, those tasks are showing up on your calendar. Why is that important? Well, when you're living your life out of time management in your calendar, and you can see that on Wednesday, you've got 5 follow-up calls that you need to do, and you've got, some other key things that you've already set up. Maybe Wednesday's not the day to schedule an on-site consultation with Tom, right? Maybe we push it to Wednesday because on Wednesday it's easier. So I'm going to share my screen. Thanks, Jeremy. I was just about to ask you for that. So this is what it looks like, right? So again, this is nice job. I don't have any outstanding tasks, guys, basically because I'm awesome. But at the end of the day, when you add these tasks, what ends up happening is right here, you click Add to Calendar. And when you come in, you can decide what elements do you want to sync up to your calendar? Who are the ones of what that looks like? What are the tasks that you want to happen? And then they just give you the URL, depending on whatever tool you use. It's iCal, Google Cal, Outlook, it doesn't matter. So what this does is it now gives you insight in how to plan your week, right? Because so often if you're working on the tasks inside of LeadSimple, and then you're scheduling meetings, you're doing all these other things, sometimes, again, you might have a busy day on Wednesday for task follow-up, but you schedule 3 consultations. What ends up happening? None of those tasks get done. And then you just piles up and builds on itself. So to me, if you get freaking nuclear on your tasks and make sure that whatever tasks are created in the system are meaningful tasks, they actually have to be there, and you're doing this work of pipeline management, of actually setting up the right next action item of what that is, then now all of a sudden you can live out of your calendar in a meaningful way and create the right type of time management versus trying to just do it kind of from shooting with the shotgun. Shoot from the hip, not really sure how to do it. You need these 2 systems to be working in conjunction with each other. So if you don't know about that, go in, set that up. I think that is one of the best kind of best kept secrets, if you will, that is inside of LeadSimple that people don't use because they have too many unimportant tasks that the system created for them.
Love it, Jay. And I encourage you guys, I've been working in CRMs a long time. If you have not been intentional about the task setting, I encourage you guys to declare task bankruptcy. Just kill them, like nuke them, as Jason says. Just start over, because if you don't have integrity and trust around this dated next step, then you're never going to look, right? You want to like look at your dated next steps for red before you go home and say, I won't be as effective as a salesperson if there's anything red there. As soon as you stop trusting that, you lose the effectiveness of the CRM. So huge, Jay. Awesome share. You guys can imagine if you truly chunk out your day for opportunity creation, opportunity closing, and you've got your task at the top, your calendar becomes mission control. By the way, your calendar is the most effective, is really the only time management tool you need. Because if you just make a big to-do list, you just got a bunch of stress. But if you got a calendar, you know what to be doing. So I hope that that's helpful for you guys. I know it's counterintuitive. I know most people I talk to are not doing. I know it took me decades to commit to those things, and it's huge. So, all right, tool mastery, time management. Okay, let's get to the sales candy. Let's talk about sales strategy. So I want to share, Jason and I are going to share what we feel like is the tip of the iceberg, but it's some fundamental things that you may have heard before, but you may not be doing, right? And those are the best fundamental things we could be doing, right? I know this stuff, but am I really doing it, right? Am I really shooting the free throws 100 a day to get better at the free throw shot? That's what we're going to share with you, right? So we're going to share 4 fundamental things that if you're not doing, I promise you your pipeline is going to be pooling and not flowing, okay? So I'm going to share the first one. If you ask me, if you ask Baird or Melissa, I'm like a broken record on our sales meetings, right? Baird and Melissa is my sales team, top performers that a lot of you guys have worked with. If you came to Sales Mastery Nashville, this will not be a surprise to you. I talked about asking questions, discovery process. You are asking a million questions 100 different ways, and all you're trying to do is answer one question. There's just a single question you have to answer in your first call with every client. Does anybody remember what that was from Nashville? This is the ultimate pipeline strategy. And if you get this wrong, you've probably blown the whole deal in the first, call with the client. This is all that matters, guys. Find out what matters to them. When I ask questions like, can you tell me about the property? Oh, what have you done before? Could you tell me about why you're considering a professional manager and what your goals are for the property? Do you think you might hold on to this property for a year, 5 years, 10 years? All I'm trying to do is find out what matters to them. And so we have a tool that we've used at RentScale. And so I have a lot of clients on the call that have hired us. And I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you guys that Melissa and Baird have a tool that we use on every discovery call. It's called a listening tool. Okay. A listening tool is like training wheels to remind you what really matters in a discovery call. Because once we know what matters to the client, we're going to use that nonstop through the sales process. That's all we're going to come back to. Okay. So our listening tool is going to have different categories than your listening tool, but it's very, very similar. Okay. So I joked about Tom Jones when I was joking with Jason about playing that game. Where does this go? This is a listening tool, guys. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the screen. I literally print this out and write on it. Jason is appalled by the idea of printing out paperwork and then re-entering it into the CRM. And so he's working on something he's going to share with you in a second. I think that it's that important that I don't mind doing it twice, right? So this is what a listening tool looks like. So I have a piece of paper on my call. We have determined that there is a finite number of reasons people ever hire a property manager, okay? It is either a pain that they're having or a goal that they're having. And by the way, that's going to affect our entire sales energy with them. Are they in a place of pain and urgency trying to solve it? Or are they future focused and goal oriented and trying to do that? So Melissa just posted the listening tool right on time. I really appreciate it. So I'm having a consultation with Tom Jones. It's 5:16. We have a phone call, right? And he says, yeah, I have this client and they've literally reached out to me and I never really thought there was anything wrong. I get my rent on time. I thought it was fine, but I started checking in and I've called and I've asked for answers. And I've heard, okay, I'm going to annotate real fast. I'm going to really show off my Zoom skills here. I heard that basically they are unresponsive and disorganized when I call them, right? So I literally would write that down. So I'd write, I'm not going to try to do it, right? I would write their language. I'd literally write what they said to me, okay? Then they said, you know what? I really don't want to lose this tenant because this tenant's been fantastic and they've always paid on time and I don't have to pay another leasing fee. So I'd say, okay, I want to keep this tenant, right? And actually say, does not want to lose tenant. And they said, here's the deal, Jeremy. I'm not sure how to break this contract because I think I have a contract, but maybe you can help me understand if I can get out of this. I really don't know what to do, but what do I do? And I say, okay, great. They have uncertainty, fear. How do I break the contract? You see these little parentheses here? You're gonna rank their pain or their goals on a scale of whatever they are, like a primary, a secondary, a tertiary, right? So they were number 1 here. Number 2, they were trying to solve a specific problem. And number 3, they needed some help. They needed some guidance, right? So this guy is insane urgency because that tenant is coming up for renewal in 74 days. Okay. And what is my data next step? I wrote down, I'm going to review his management agreement. He promised to email it over to me now. I'm going to sit down with my boss. I'm going to see what we can do. And he told me that he works during the day and he's only available at lunch. And I said, I'm going to call you at lunch tomorrow. What time do you take lunch? Usually around 1 o'clock. No problem. I'll let you get settled. I'm going to call you about 1:30. And so I'm going to write my dated next step. That is it, guys. That is the essence of a discovery call. Yes, you're going to answer questions, but if you can't fill out this listening tool, you did not have an effective conversation, an effective discovery call. And so we're going to share this with you guys. Like I said, I think it's training wheels. Until you literally are thinking this way on every single sales call, print these out. Jay, what did you suggest about people that are getting calls in their car when they're out seeing appointments?
Well, yeah, and the reason why I was giving Jeremy a hard time about like having that time to write this down, like everyone's at their desk. You should be working on your computer. You know, half of you, no hard feelings here, but have a hard enough time getting the work done in the CRM, let alone writing it on a piece of paper and then getting it in the CRM. But we were talking about the idea that many of you are away from your desk. You're in the car. You're going through process. Like you're not at your computer. So the best thing you can do is print off 10 of these things, put it onto a clipboard. Keep that clipboard in the car. And when you take a discovery call or you take a phone call with someone, have it there. And then that way, when you do get back to the office, you have your notes and then you can put the important things into the CRM. So if anything, to me, have this, if you're mobile and you're out and you're doing stuff and you're not at your desk all the time, get that clipboard set up, get 10 of these things printed off. And that way, moving forward, you will always have the information you need anytime you're talking with someone on a discovery call.
That's fantastic. Guys, I'd love to hear from you guys. Why do you think urgency matters? If I get 10 calls a week, what are you going to do with sitting down and scoring their urgency on a scale of 1 to 10? How can you use that in your sales process? I'd love to hear from you guys. If you want to chat it in, if you want to unmute, you know, why I only have so much real estate. I've distilled this thing down to a single piece of paper. Why did I choose to put urgency on there? Does anybody want to volunteer? You have a better idea of which bucket to drop them into? Great call, Jeff. Anything else? Prioritizing your time, right? So I got four of Tom Jones, and I got a couple other guys that said, hey, you know, my management agreement's coming up in 4 months, and I'd just like to learn what my options are. No urgency, right? Where am I gonna prioritize my time? You know, definitely on the Tom Jones of the world, and not the people that are just kind of kicking the tires. It's also going to help you craft your follow-up, right? We're talking about unsticking the pipeline. Hey, Tom, I understand that you when you called me, you had 74 days until your tenant's lease was up. It's been 2 weeks. Would you like to do something about the situation, right? See where I'm going with that? Like, it actually nothing is on this page that will not be used in follow-up. Once you get this done, guys, once you have this, you're going to enter it in your CRM, and every time you follow up. So if I went way back to that graphic that Jason showed you about the percentage of automation and how it dropped to almost 0 when it was in potentials, why is it that you don't want to automate any communication with a potential? Because you have this information. This is all you should be talking about. Tom, are you still concerned about the property, about the property manager? Have they done anything to remedy the situation? Do you have that renewal yet? That is Top Gun level 10 follow-up. And that is not, hey, do you know about our guarantee? Have you read about our reviews online? Like, that stuff doesn't matter to them at this point. You know what their problem is, right? If you can extract this information, everything changes as you go through the sales process. I can talk for 2 hours about that.
I have to have the share. And Lee, I'm going to put you on the spot real fast. This week in Scale Club, you were sharing that you got 5 deals this last week through your follow-up with people based on urgency and whatnot. Give us like the 30-second breakdown of what you did in your follow-up and getting those deals done.
Sure. I think what I did was just try to, from the discovery, take a piece of information that would make them either remember me or our conversation. So it was a personalized follow-up and or I would do something that I thought was very relative to our conversation, whether it was a concern that they had as to why they weren't moving forward. So if I could find a news article or a tidbit of information that related back to that conversation to show I was listening, that's what I chose to do all week in the follow-ups.
So your follow-ups, you were sending videos, it was
videos.
Personalized one-to-one. You even told the story of like a service member, right? Like saying, basically remembering that they were a service member, that they were in the military,
Right.
Speaking to that, helping drive that sense of urgency. And if I remember correctly, you said that some of the people basically said, because you took the time to send them a video with personalized follow-up, they decided to move forward and working with you, right?
It was. They said that nobody was doing something similar, that they were getting follow-ups, whether it be a call or whatever, email, and that they weren't opening it or they weren't answering the phone, but the video was something different they weren't accustomed to, and the content was, it made sense. So it stood out.
That's it. That's the one thing I just want to highlight. The reason why this sheet is so important is it gives you the reason for following up, the content. The number one thing that I always hear people say is, I don't know what to say. So all we end up doing is just following up with people. And Andrea's nodding her head because we were joking about this yesterday on our call. And if you guys haven't seen the just follow up video, we'll resend it out. But if that's all you're doing in sales is just following up, you're missing out on massive opportunities. And frankly, in my opinion, you're not doing your job as a salesperson. You should be identifying these key things and you have a reason to engage with them because you know where they're at. And that's going to be one of the things that's going to help you accelerate and getting more deals done. So anyways, I know we got like 5 minutes left, so we got to fly through these next few, but that was a great win. This is happening. We just need those real life stories that this isn't just me and Jeremy making stuff up. Like when this is happening, you guys are winning and we want you all winning. So, all right, next one, Jeremy.
Melissa, if you get a chance to drop that just following up video in the chat, go for it. But we'll send it out. Spoiler alert, it involves us renting Airbnb in Nashville and approaching our Uber driver who was on American Idol and getting her to sing a song. So that's the kind of follow-up we're sending at RentScale. It is not a just follow-up email. So I just want to give you guys a little tease. I'm super excited about this, Lee. It was an amazing share, guys. I just want to drive this home because I'm going to go through these other ones quickly. If you hired me and you said, I just want you to train my salesperson on one thing, I would say use the listening tool. And every time you call somebody for follow-up, think about what matters to them. And everything should stem from that. And if you guys do that, you're going to fire on new cylinders that you haven't before. So I'm really excited about this training. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump back in. Jay, I'm going to let you riff on this one, right? So number one strategy for unclogging your pipeline was understanding what really matters to them and then only laser focusing on that. I just want to make sure I drive that home. Forget about all the other stuff. Okay. Number two, care to share the Babe Ruth story?
Right? You guys all know it, right? Babe Ruth would always point it out. He called shots before he ever took a swing. And what we're driving to here is the fact that if you're not communicating with the prospect what you're going to do next, all you're ending up doing is basically being a customer service rep. Okay. Too often, sometimes I hear, kind of you get off a discovery call and the way that call closes is, hey, thanks for all the information today. You've been really helpful. Right? And then you say, great, well, what can I do? Oh, we're going to go think about it. If you hear someone say, we're going to go think about it, no, I don't have any more questions. Effectively in that moment, we've just been a customer service rep. We have not been a trusted advisor salesperson. Trusted advisor salesperson is not just going to give them the information they're looking for. You're driving the conversation forward. You're saying, hey, great, I'm so glad that I can answer your questions today. Would you mind if I follow up with you on Thursday at 3 o'clock, because you said that's what time you're going to be getting off work, to check in and see if you're ready to make a decision on whether or not we're the best fit for you moving forward. You are setting in their mind, I am the one that is going to be following up with you. I am going to be engaging with you. And the only reason in my mind why sometimes we back off from calling the next shot is we are fearing rejection in that moment. We don't want to be told no. We got to get over that. Some people might tell you no, and that's okay. Majority of people will say, yeah, that sounds great. We'll talk to you at 3. And then you actually show up and you make the call. And I don't care if you have to leave a voicemail. You did your job and you're establishing trust with that person. And then next morning, Friday, you call them back and you just keep going. But if you don't have at the end of the call, at the end of whatever it is in the sales process, you're calling the shot for what the next thing is, you're missing out, and all you're doing is basically just giving them value without having anything established for them. So that's the next piece of the process. You've got to call the next shot.
Love it. Tell them what you're going to do, right? Hey, even if they don't respond, I like to end an email, Jay, and say, here's everything you asked for. If I don't hear back from you, I'm going to call you on Friday. That's, you know what I mean? That's just another example of calling your shot, right? So this is something I've been using for a long time. By the way, we're recording this, guys. If you have to run, we're going to keep it going for a little bit because I want to make sure we deliver all this content. Sell the link, sell the chain. You guys ever heard that before? Right? I mean, sell each link, and the next thing you know, the customer has bought the chain, right? And so when you think about this sales process right here, hey, where are they at? Remember, like, just think about, how do I move them to the next step? Why are they stuck? How do I move them forward? Just like Lee did, right? Thinking about the time frame. Okay, I completed the rental analysis. We had an on-site. They canceled it. All I should be thinking about is not, hey, buy from us. I've got some really amazing information in this rental analysis. This was actually, I really discovered some things that I wasn't expecting when I did this rental analysis. I've got some great info for you. There's something really unique about your property, your neighborhood. I'd love to meet. All you need to do is let me know when you can get on a Zoom call. I want to show it to you because I'm so excited about this that I can't stop thinking about your property, right? All you're doing is selling the next link in the chain. So at the end of the day, guys, what does that look like? Here's how I want you to think about your activity. We talk about time management. At the end of the day, as a salesperson, everything you do falls into two categories. You're either converting opportunity or creating opportunity. And so I want you, this is in your notes. If you want to screenshot it, not the slide, the next one. If you're ever stuck, this is what I want you to do. There's an easy template for how to advance opportunity, which is convert, and how to create opportunity, okay? So here are the high payoff activities I want you to come back to. I want you to go through every deal in your pipeline, right? Look at each opportunity, each prospect, and ask, what pipeline stage are they in now? If you've done a good job, it's already updated. I hope you don't have to think about that, but I want to include that because if you haven't done it, then you got to make sure that it's up to date. Number two, what can I do to advance each opportunity, right? The next link in the chain. This is where it gets even better. What's standing in the way? Do they not see the value in what we're doing? Is it that there's an agreement in place with a contract and we need to buy it out? Ask yourself legitimately, what is standing in the way? Whether you can fix it or not, suspend any concern of whether you can solve that problem and isolate what's standing in the way of moving to the next step. And then what can I do to get them moving closer to the deal, right? This is it. This is what matters right here. Go through every opportunity. If you've done all the things Jason and I have said, you're not lying to yourself, you followed up, you don't have a bunch of crap in your pipeline, this is how you convert opportunity, okay? When you want to do the same thing with creating opportunity, if you're shallow on opportunity, then who reaches my ideal client before I do? I mean, this is B&I 101. This is a referral. Who reaches my ideal client before I do? Is it a CPA? Is it a realtor? I need as many of those relationships as possible. Who needs to learn about my service? Who needs to understand? Can I go through Furbos? Can I go through my referral network? Who needs to learn more about my service? And who do I need to touch to see if anything has changed? You guys have heard me say this a lot. A big part of follow-up is that we're waiting for a major life or business event to happen. People get divorced, people move, people get promoted, people have kids, kids go to college. We're just waiting to see what's changed. So that's why we stay in touch over long term. So at the end of the day, hear me out on this, guys. You're selling the link. You're not trying to close everybody. You're just trying to move them to the next step. And if you're really stuck on that, I want to share a line that I've always really liked. This is a real estate term. If it isn't selling, it isn't compelling, right? If you can't move them to the next step, if they're not calling you back, I don't want you to blame them. I don't want you to think that there's something you don't understand. I want you to laser focus on how to make moving to the next step more compelling to them, right? How do I get them to meet me at the property? How do I get them to look at the rental analysis? How do I get them to send me their agreement so I can find out if I can get them out of it? How do I get them to let me show them how I can get 10% more rent or 20% more value out of that property over the course of the lifetime with me. So keep that in mind. Print this out. If you guys are going to get a tattoo and it's not going to be direct, reflect and perfect, then my second option would be, if it isn't selling, it isn't compelling. Get in a place where you can see it every time you look in the mirror, because that is the mantra I want you to do. Jason, drive us home, right? What's the fourth strategy for moving people through the pipeline?
Right. So the thing is it's about being able to make sure we're talking to the right people and talking to more of the right people, right? When we think about what's happening here within the process of the pipeline, is sometimes it's a matter that we need to be filling in the top. We need to be getting more opportunities for ourselves, right? And the reason that more opportunities are important is sometimes we get on calls and people don't need our services in that moment. And we think, no one needs us. And then you get on that call and you talk to the person that absolutely needs your service in that moment. And it is the right fit and everything works and you move them through the process. But the only way that you uncover that person is by being able to make sure that you're just talking to more people. So it's about making sure that we have the right numbers, but again, it's about the right people. And so the key here is really making sure, again, this prioritization. I can't harp on it enough. We've said that the CRM should be telling you what you're doing next. So if you're not creating the right prioritization in your pipeline, you end up wasting time on the wrong people. And if you're wasting time on the wrong people, then effectively your pipeline's not flowing and it's just pooling. So this is where we got to get really, tactical in this process to make sure that your time is spent talking to the right people and you have the right priorities set up to make sure that we're moving things forward. So,
Jay, I want you to leave us with your parting thoughts.
This is something I've been saying all week, guys. And I think this is, at the end of the day, the most important thing. That if you take care of the pipeline will take care of you. That is ultimately what it's all about. That your job as salespeople is to be making money, right? That's why we're all here at the end of the day, right? We want to see the businesses grow. We want to be making more money. We want to see more clients coming in. And the only way that we're going to be able to ultimately do that is by taking amazing care of the pipeline. And I promise you that if you put into play these things that we're talking about, and you put into the strategies, the tactics, the time management, you spend some time learning the tools inside of LeadSimple, you put these sales strategies in play, you're going to be taken care of. You're going to be getting deals. The pipeline will take care of you. You're going to achieve the goals and the desires that you want to get there. The only way you get it done is by making sure you take care of the pipeline. So take care of the pipeline and the pipeline will take care of you.
Love it, Jay. There's a bonus in the notes. If you guys check, it's called micro versus macro, kind of thinking about everything I think Jason just said. Want you guys to look at that, download that. We're going to take some questions. We got our first question, Jay, from Lee that I sent you. If you guys have any questions, let us know. We're going to stay on for just maybe 6 or 7 minutes. But what I want to say to you guys is that this is kind of like part one of 2 parts of what I think are some of our most awesome sauce skill dev sessions. So this was all about the fundamentals, the organization, the clarity, what you do. Next month, the last Friday of June, if you guys can believe that, June 2020, I feel like it's the future. I'm waiting for my flying skateboard to arrive from Back to the Future. We're going to be talking about negotiating for salespeople. There's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of content around negotiating. And it's about the big deal. It's about, world peace. It's about hostage negotiation. It's not actually negotiating in a sales context. And so everything we've talked about today is a negotiation. Hey, here's my next step. Are you on board with that? Would you give me some information? I'm negotiating during the discovery process. Would you be honest with me and tell me what you're doing, right? What's your timeline? What's going to make you move forward? This is all negotiation, guys. Next month, we're going to focus on negotiation for salespeople. And if you enjoyed today, if you thought it was practical, if you thought it was fun, if you thought it was interesting, inspiring, we hope to bring the same flavor next month around negotiating. So just wanted to put that out there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to chat them in there. Jason, I just messaged you because Lee has a question I think you're going to crush. You want to go ahead and take that first question when everybody else enters theirs?
So Lee is just curious, can each kind of, as you said, kind of creating automation in LeadSimple for the types of leads, active, passive, the different things, you can set up automation for any stage that is inside of LeadSimple. So LeadSimple organizes themselves from 2 key terms, stage and workflow. So whatever the stage is, it can be active nurture, passive nurture, whatever that is. then within that stage, you can have a workflow, and that workflow can then be automated. So you can have your automated emails going out, text messages, whatever that is. So if it has a stage, it can have automation, is the way to think about that.
Love it. So Jason, question, if we're waiting for anybody else, feel free to drop in. Love to hear from anybody if they've got any specific shares. Just say, I have a share in the chat if you want to share something. So what's like the worst thing we can do with our pipeline? I mean, you deal with salespeople week in, week out, right? What do you think it is that we do emotionally with our pipeline that actually slows down our progress as salespeople? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think, I mean, there's a couple of pieces here, but I think sometimes what ends up happening is we tend to maybe be a little bit over optimistic, and we tend to maybe hold on to deals or hold on to things in the pipeline that we believe maybe potentially if it's a full moon on the 4th Friday of June that they're going to convert. And so we just kind of hold on to these people in our pipeline far longer. And sometimes we just kind of have to have a hard look at it. And I think the reason why we struggle with this is there's honestly maybe a little perception of failure if I look at it and kind of dig in, that every time we move someone out of our pipeline, maybe we didn't do our job. And so we kind of think, I gotta sit with myself and realize like, oof, okay, I gotta move this person into active, or I gotta move this person into passive. And so maybe we didn't get it done, whatever it was, we might feel like we're failing. So instead of dealing with that failure sense, we're just gonna hold on to letting the pipeline balloon, which is far worse. So, you know, my encouragement to you is you're not failing, right? This is just the process of sales. So in this process, like what we're driving to is clear it out. It's okay. The active nurture stuff, the passive nurture stuff, that stuff will come back around, but you will be far more successful by just being honest with yourself than just holding on to things that at the end of the day, you know, if you really look at it, isn't going to convert.
Love this. If anybody's going to share, drop it in. I'm always trying to look for the essence. You know, think about slide 1, like what is pipeline? Pipeline is all your potential business. What is pipeline management? Pipeline management is speeding up that business, right? So, Melissa, I want to let you share. One thing I want to say, guys, is another essence for me about sales. If you're ever lost, I always come back to this. Sales is about getting in front of enough of the right people, right, at the right time, and helping them make the right decisions. That's what we do. We're trying to get in front of enough of the right people at the right time, trying to get them to make the right decisions. Sometimes it's the wrong time. Sometimes it's the wrong person. Sometimes they make the wrong decision. We don't give up. We just keep doing that, right? And so you guys know, especially in the outbound boot camp, I take a long-term view. I basically say anybody that's a qualified client for me, it's just a matter of time before they buy from me. Meanwhile, when they're really in my active nurture, I actually get a little more aggressive. I'm all about the timeline. I'm like really focused on, hey, when do you think you're going to make a decision, right? If you decided on this, can I take it off your plate? Then knowing that if they say, look, Jeremy, I'm just not going to go with you, or it's just not a right time, then I default back to the long game. But when they're in your active pipeline, your prospect, like Jason said, you want to be aggressive and you want to say, let me take this off your plate, make a decision. This isn't one more thing you need to do. You're busy, you're a professional. I can help you. The faster you sign up with us, the quicker that I can make your life better. And it's okay to be aggressive, knowing that you're not really going to lose that person forever. You're just going to move into more of a passive nature. So I have a little bit of a switch. I wanted to share that. All right, Melissa, give us your share. And I think Jeff's got one as well. You first, Melissa.
Sure. No, I was just going to reiterate 2 things that were said. One was about the tasks. So that's something I have been using a lot, and it goes hand in hand with like the urgency. So if they're probably like an 8, 9, or 10, and say I send like a follow-up email, I'll literally create a task that says, did they get back to me? So like the next day, if they didn't get back to me and I know that they are very urgent, I have to reach out again. Or did they open the email? Something like that. And then the other thing, I think it was you who might have said it, or Jason, but the language that they're using. So we always use the word top performer, but I just had a call with someone and they were using the language rockstar BDM. So like that's my follow-up, and it kind of reminded me too of what Lee was doing. So just that can help kind of move along the pipeline.
Awesome share, guys. That's why we have this listening tool. You write down their language and you use it back to them. Awesome, Melissa. One of the things, Jeff, I want to tee you up for this because this is amazing. But what Melissa just said is, even if I'm waiting for them to follow with me, I create a dated next step to follow up, right? So here's another way of saying that, guys. The ball is always in your court. The ball is never in the prospect's court, right? You may think it is, and you may be waiting for them to get back to you, but you have a dated next step to follow up. The ball is always on our court as a salesperson. Jeff, awesome to have you here, man. Tell us what you're doing up there.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, so I don't have it right here in front of me right now, but the pyramid image document that we were working on in Fort Lauderdale, I actually keep that at my desk now because I think human nature always tells us when we're on sales calls, when we start it, it's your discovery call. And if it doesn't end with, yeah, send me agreement, I'll sign it right now, that we feel like it's kind of a loss. And the biggest thing that I took away from it was just keeping that pyramid in front of me, because part of that discovery is just right off the bat trying to figure out which section of that pyramid are they in right now and how close am I to the actual sale. Because if it's in that bottom section where the people are clearly not serious at all, you're never going to end up that call at the end with them saying, send me an agreement, I'm sold, let's go. It's just never going to happen. So you can't look at those at a loss. So that's kind of what Jason was saying earlier. You know, you're going to hear no. You're going to hear it left and right, but you can still kind of come out with a win from that. So those are the things that I've been trying to keep myself abreast of a little bit, just so that it kind of keeps you on a little bit more of a positive mindset.
I love the mindset, Jeff, and the share. Just so you guys don't think we're running a pyramid scheme, I want to show you what that pyramid looks like, because I got a little nervous when you mentioned the pyramid. Just kidding. But yeah, this is it, guys. This is every market out there. There's 3% of any market, whether you're selling snow tires or cars or property management or anything, they're actively looking for what you do. Those are the guys that fill out the pay-per-click ads. They're the guys that are calling you. There's 7% that are open to it. 30% are unaware. I can't tell you how many people have no idea what professional property managers do. 30% misunderstand it. They hired a realtor. It didn't work out. They don't know what you do. And the other 30%, they're just never going to do it. Their brother owns a property management company. Their identity is all wrapped up in property management. They think they're lazy for hiring somebody. So yeah, just having that landscape is huge. So I just wanted to share that real quick. So yeah, guys, I don't think we have any other questions. Any other shares? Really appreciate you guys being here. We're going to share the recording. Love the Scale Club community. Love the commitment. Jason, thanks for showing up and dropping the fire. If you guys have any questions, let us know. We're happy to help you guys. Hope you have an awesome Friday. I'm glad to be back to a somewhat normal reality. And yeah, no better business to be in than property management these days. Take care, guys.